All right. What's up, guys? It's Old Man Wags here with Dirt Killer Pressure Washers. Today we are here with guest speaker Ray Poland from Deck Restoration Plus. We're going to let him take the stage in a moment as he demos some of his products for us. So Ray, go ahead and show us what you got.
How's everybody doing today? I'm Ray and I'm with Deck Restoration Plus, the nation's leader in deck cleaning and deck restoration products. And I just want to do a quick demo and show you about what it's like to take care of wood the real way. Days gone by, we really just would come in there and throw SH or bleach and stuff like that on the wood, bleach it out and stuff like that. We can't afford to do that anymore. Wood prices, what they are today, it's really going through. All the construction wood that was used to build a deck, all that just went through the roof. So if we're gonna put that stuff out there and it's gonna last 30 years, there's a standard we gotta follow. And that talks about keeping the wood preserved, and following the proper steps in preserving that wood. So we're going to touch on the 4 main principles about doing this. And one of the things you got to do when you're restoring any type of wood, you're cleaning any type of wood, we're going to talk about the difference between cleaning and restoration. You might think there's a big difference. Well, we're going to show you what that difference is. So the standards in wood restoration, wood cleaning, are first off, you're going to have to wet the wood. You just can't come in here and throw soaps, bleach, or chemicals on that. You have to think about wood, you know, as a living, breathing thing. You know, it was once living with nice trees and leaves and stuff like that on it, but it's made up of, you know, cellulose, and it's what we get our paper from. So when you throw chemicals on there, it just shoots the whole match out there. The lignin that holds it all together, you know, are like the ligaments in our body. It's what keeps us there. When we put heavy solvents or caustic stuff on there, it just breaks it down. Bleach, for instance, will take out all the tannins, which gives wood its natural color. We don't have a whole lot of time to talk about different species of wood. That's more in our class, but let's just talk about the standard in wood restoration, and that deals with 1. You got to pre-wet the wood down. You got to open it up, and the reason for that is all of the green stuff and the gray, the mold, algae, and lichen that you see on the wood that gathers on decks and on the sides of houses, that's on the surface, right? So if we're going to use something to clean this off, first off, we've got to get in there. Now, a lot of people try and get in there with a power washer and think that it's going to get out. Let me let you know right now, anybody that's out there dealing with exterior wood, whether it be decks, homes, fences, anything, a pressure washer is not going to clean that. A pressure washer is going to take away some of that material up there. It's going to take away a whole lot of it. And that deck that was supposed to last 25 to 30 years, you've just halved it. And on top of that, you're not really doing a good service to the wood or the homeowner. So we're going to open that wood up. Wood, the water is a barrier to that, right? It's going to get in there. It's going to loosen everything up. The gray fibers that you see on this is the cellulose, right? These are the old wood fibers that have come and gone, lived their life. The sun has bleached them out, and they're ready to go, right? So it's a pretty bright indicative of what's going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to wet that down. We're going to start freeing up some of that lignin. We're going to moisturize the tannins, again, which give the wood its natural color. And we're going to let that stuff soak into the wood, because like I said, again, it's on the surface and we want to get it out. We don't need to go deep down into the wood. We don't need to be doing bone surgery for a little bit of cosmetics. Do you understand? So what we're going to do first is we're going to wet the wood down, and then we're going to choose some type of cleaner. Typically, a lot of guys are going to run up and they're going to use bleach, a regular house mix. Well, I just told you, bleach, all that's going to do, it's going to turn all those tannins white. It's going to break down the lignin, and that wood's going to fuzz up. And it's really not going to be the optimum look for this homeowner, right? So when we're talking about deck cleaning, deck restoration, wood restoration, we're always going to talk about the manufacturers on the sides of all their labels. It doesn't matter who the major manufacturers are. We always talk about the optimum result. And the optimum result is always achieved by doing the prep work. So it would stand to reason all our prep is what's going to be in our pudding in the end. So we're going to go ahead and wet the surface down. We're going to choose a cleaner. We're going to show you the difference between, you know, a regular house wash mix. The preferred method to clean wood like this is going to be used with, you know, a powdered bleach, often known as, you know, OxyClean, but that's sodium percarbonate, right? And then we're going to give you a demonstration of using other products like sodium metasilicate. Sodium metasilicate came about when we first had Trex and the original generation of composite woods. The manufacturers had to find a way to clean that stuff, and it really became a two-part process. And that two-part process involved getting all the organics out of the wood, you know, the mold, the lichen, the algae, and stuff like that. That was the first purpose, or the first step, was to get all that and kill it and get it out of there. The sodium metasilicate, now that's an alkaloid. It's going to get in the wood, it's got the lifting properties, right? It's going to get all that schmutz out of there, and it's going to lift them out of there. And then the third step we're going to talk about, well, the second and third step are kind of the same thing. Once we put our cleaners on there, right? We're gonna rinse, 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 and rinse again. And the reason we wanna do that is if the truth is all the work is done in the prep, we want all the soap, we want all the cleaners, we want everything out of the wood, right? If we try putting something onto contaminated wood, and by contaminated I mean still soaps, organics and stuff like that, it's not gonna be the optimal finish. It's not gonna be an optimum look. You're gonna get a call back from your homeowner. So again, we wanna go for the optimum look. We're gonna put that on there. We're gonna rinse it off, make sure everything is off of there. And then that last part, we're gonna hit it with a brightener, right? So typically, when we're talking about brighteners, we're talking about oxalic acid. In the past, you know, you want to looking at some stuff like phosphoric acid and citric acid. Those just are not strong enough. And when we're dealing with oxalic acid, you're going to get a lot of nail bleeds. What the oxalic acid does is, if we're talking about the pH scale, right, we're going to run those alkaloids way up there on a pH scale from 0 to 14, 7 being in the middle. We're going to need to neutralize that, right? We're going to need to bring it back down to the wood's natural color. So going back over this again, we're going to use a powdered oxygenated bleach, right? And then we're also going to demonstrate our restorer. We're going to demonstrate what it's like after we clean and do that. We've also got our stripper here. Now, we've been challenged with some Ready Seal, and we brought that with us. We did this board a month ago. Later in this video, we're going to show you what that looks like, how our stripper stands up against what we're told to be one of the most difficult stains for you, the contractor here in the Baltimore area, to get rid of. So we're going to see what that looks like later in the video. Right now, we're going to start the process, right? So our process is going to be, we're going to wet the wood, we're going to clean the wood with all the different cleaners. We're going to show you what that does. You know, the bleach is going to bleach it out. We're going to show you what the powdered bleach does, and then we're going to show you what the sodium metasilicate does, and we're going to show you what the stripper does. But back to that two-part process with the composites. Back in the day, you had to use the powdered bleach, and then you had to come in with the sodium metasilicate. And then lastly, you had to come in with the brightener, something to brighten it, because back then we used to use red oak, right? And all that composite, you get that brownish black leaching. That's why if you ever just go over there and you throw bleach on it and you don't neutralize it, your homeowner's gonna have a whole bunch of what looks like, you know, popcorn marks all over their deck. All that white's gonna show up, especially if it's a really dark odor like that red and black Trex, it'll show up. So let's go ahead and get this process started. Again, like I said, we're going to create that barrier. We're going to wet all this wood down, right? You want to open up the follicles, if you will, the cells of that wood, and allow it to get in there. And you're going to see it starting to darken up, right? We're adding the moisture back into the wood. We're creating that optimum surface. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to leave this one board over here kind of as a control. You're going to get to see the before and after. This is going to be the before, and all of these are going to be the after. So we're going to start out with usually our house mix, which most guys are using. It's a bleach, it's a surfactant, and some water, and they're going to throw that on there. And typically, when you're using a house wash mix, all these elements, you're going to have to allow a certain amount of dwell time. If you don't allow them to dwell, then they really can't do their work. But I got to tell you, when you use bleach or house wash mix, and you put it on something, it's only going to be active on the first thing it touches. And the reason for that is bleach is made for non-porous surfaces, right? It's made for food places, it's made for stuff and sanitation like that. It's not made for porous surfaces. So when it gets here on the wood, the first thing it hits is going to be that algae, right? It's not going to go any further. That's why the perfected method of wood cleaning is with an OxyClean, with a sodium percarbonate. And sodium percarbonate is going to get past all that stuff. Where the bleach just stops, it's going to actually get in the wood, get past that barrier in the surface, and it's going to effectively start to treat that. Now you can literally see it starting to work as we're doing this process. You can literally see it starting to lighten up. Let's come back a little bit of the house wash mix because it's a lot hot out here, isn't it, boys and girls? So we're going to wet that down pretty good. We got our house wash mix, we got our sodium percarbonate. And going back to the sodium percarbonate, I just want to make clear on one thing, that when we do that, it's going past all of the other elements. Where the bleach is just stopping, it's only getting the stuff on the surface. This is going to work its way all the way down inside it. Now when we start adding the sodium metasilicate, you're going to see the wood actually start to turn a little bit darker. That's because there's alkaline in there, and it's really getting past there, and it's raising all that stuff up out of the wood, right? The sodium percarbonate, the bleach, it's just going to keep on lightening it. When we start hitting the woods and the tannins with the sodium metasilicate and those alkaloids, it's really going to take it up a notch, and it's going to get in there and get closer to those natural tannins of the wood. It's not going to take out the color. The sodium percarbonate, you'll see that it's actually working pretty good against the bleach, right? So now we're going to come in, we're going to do 2 of those panels, right? And it's getting a little dry, so at 160,000 degrees today here in Baltimore, you're going to want to keep that wood wet. Now, at any point in time, you're going to want to keep that surface wet, even when you're putting it on for application. When you reapply, you're still going to wet it down. The surface has to stay wet, right? You don't want this stuff drying out. You don't want to put it on with nothing on there. It'll flash dry. It'll effectively defeat the purpose of even doing that. So lastly, we're going to come in with our stripper, okay? And we're going to hit this. We're going to do this last 2 boards with the stripper. And we're also going to hit this part we do with the Ready Seal. And we'll come back later and check that out. Now, with the stripper and our cleaners, the optimum dwell time, as I talked about earlier, for any of this is going to be between, 7 to 10 minutes, typical with anything. You let it dwell, you let it sit on there, you let it do its work. Now, here we're going to apply it right here to the Ready Seal. That's going to be on there 30 minutes. Anytime you're stripping something, it's going to be on there roughly. You have to check the manufacturer's specs. With the Deck Restoration Plus stuff, we're going to apply this for 30 minutes very liberally, right? See, we're not inundating anything. We're going to go ahead and keep this surface nice and wet, right? Let all that stuff dwell, give it a nice spray down, keeping everything moist and letting it stay active, right? We'll come back in about 4 or 5 minutes and we're going to show you the results. We're going to start rinsing this for you, okay? Let our stuff dwell, or while we're letting it dwell, sometimes even in the day, real world experience is just like we are here today. 93 degrees out, Baltimore, East Coast, it's really humid. So you really got to pay attention to keeping your cleaners moist, right? So you got to splash them a little bit. But let's go back and talk about the strippers. Back in the day, a lot of guys used to just come in and they would throw sodium hydroxide on stuff, and it worked really good on a lot of the oil-based stuff and things like that. But let's talk about what happened and why things are different, why we have to keep up the pace with all our different strippers, cleaners, and our different finishes, more so than anything. Even like I said, the major manufacturers, their stuff you're gonna buy at Home Depot is not gonna take their stuff off. Bear, all those other ones, I don't know if I'm supposed to mention them or not, but they're gonna tell you even their own strippers have a hard time taking it off. Now, let's say you add in, you got the sodium hydroxide and the sodium metasilicate in there, but what about, you've got the old stripper kind of with the new cleaner and the stripper, but a lot of guys, what they used to do to their sodium hydroxide on the more difficult stains is they would throw a butyl in there. And I got some contractors that use like simple green to clean their decks. Well, that's what a good butyl is. If you want to look that up on our website, we'll explain what that more is. But when you're talking about a stripper that can't get oil or water and they're having difficulties, we're really going to see what comes into play with the Deck Restoration Plus stripper. Because over the years, after having defined all this and looked at different coverings, when the federal government came in 2009 with the new laws with VOCs and took a lot of those old strippers off the market, contractors like myself and you guys out there were left going, what do we do, right? So we put a lot of time and a lot of energy and certainly a lot of money into making sure our contractors like ourselves and other guys and girls out there doing the same thing for the homeowners to have the best product out there. So you're going to find out what it's like to have the sodium hydroxide, the sodium metasilicate in there, right? The potassium hydroxide in there. It's going to get in there. The potassium hydroxide gets you all these really thick, clear wood finish type things, and it's really smaller molecules. The sodium hydroxide and the metasilicate is going to provide that lift, right? But the potassium hydroxide, it's a smaller molecule. It gets in there deeper, and it really starts to lift that stuff out there. Starts to bubble it on the surface, all that typical stuff, right? So when we hit that, and the reason we're using a brush is it's simulating the agitation we're going to use in a pressure washer. And when I talk about using a pressure washer, we're not talking about 10 gallons a minute at 4,000 PSI. We're going to destroy the wood. Remember, I told you, bleach doesn't restore wood, nor does pressure washing, right? So we're looking for an optimal pressure on the wood surface about 10 inches away, anywhere from 800 to 1,000 PSI max. And when you're talking about soft woods like cedar and things like that, you really want to stay away from that. And there's technique involved in there, just not splashing it around. You want to create like a pendulum motion, coming up and down and feathering. You want to start off the wood and end off of the wood, right? So we've let this dwell. We're going to get in there and see what that house wash mix does as opposed to the sodium percarbonate and then the stripper as well. So we've already gotten in there. We've got our control piece. That's the bleach, the house wash mix. You see it really started to bleach it out as opposed to what the sodium percarbonate did. And the sodium percarbonate, even though it did lighten it up as we saw very early on, it does get in there and actually darken up the wood a little bit more obviously than the bleach. And we're going to start to see that really the proof is going to be in the pudding once we rinse all this out and we use our brightener, our oxalic acid, right? So there's the sodium metasilicate, our deck restorer. Again, we recommend these things can be mixed at any type of ratio between, our best bet, you could use our restorer as a light, very heavy cleaner, if you will, based upon the ratio, or a light stripper, which is to say, if you mix it at a lower ratio, like a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, it has that stripping ability, right? As opposed to, you know, the sodium percarbonate and stuff like that, which is just going to be your cleaner and your restorer. You see all those bubbles coming out of there? That's why once we rinse, we go back and we rinse again. And when we're done rinsing, let's be honest with each other, folks, we're going to have to rinse again. You want to keep going. We're looking, again, for the optimal results. When we put this stain on, long after we're gone, the homeowner needs to look at this, right? Now, the manufacturer's saying, we're going to put this on this wood in optimum conditions. We're going to have to come out at some point in time and maintain this. You just can't put it on there and forget it, right? The manufacturers tell you require maintenance. The same thing with Deck Restoration Plus products. You're going to come out here and we're going to lightly clean that up, right? And then we're going to reapply our stains. It's just not a one and done, forget it with stains. It actually involves some maintenance. Manufacturers have maintenance. Deck Restoration Plus has maintenance. You should be performing as a contractor some type of maintenance. You know, if you're just there for your client one time and on to the next one, I don't know about you, but we have clients that we've been servicing for 20, 25 years, and we just keep going back. Owners have taken over places, just like one of the places we finished this weekend, right? So we're there taking care of the wood. You want to make sure you develop that relationship and you create the optimum atmosphere so that way after you're long and gone, that wood still looks great until it's time for that maintenance cleaning, which, you know, probably could be, depending on where you live, environmental factors, it could be anywhere from 2 years to 3 years. Certainly more sunnier places are going to require that you do it a little bit more often because the sun, let's face it, it's just going to bake all that away. Okay? We still got some soap on there, which means we really got to get in there and rinse that pretty good. See all that stuff going away? You want all that off of there. Right, so now what we've done, we're putting those cleaners on there, even with the bleach and the powdered bleach, the sodium percarbonate, the sodium metasilicate with our Deck Restoration Plus Restorer, and then our stripper, right? After putting that all on there, you can see how the wood has gotten lightened on the left-hand side of this video with the house wash mix, right? It's kind of bleached out some areas. This got a little bit darker, but with the alkaloids, the sodium metasilicate, the sodium hydroxide, the potassium hydroxide, it's going to get those tannins back to their natural color. It's not going to bleach it out like make it really white like you're going to get with other things with bleach in it. So let's continue rinsing this off. And then I'm going to show you where the magic really happens. We've really taken this stuff up the pH scale with those alkaloids in there. Now we're going to have to neutralize that surface so that way it can be the optimum surface to accept your stains, your sealers, whether you know you're putting on the Deck Restoration Plus or whether you're putting on an oil base. You really need to understand that this stuff has to get out of here. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you, if you're going to use an oil-based, if you're going to use any of the hybrids that we've come out with today, right, you got to check the manufacturer's specs. Especially with hardwoods, it's a whole different ballgame. But most of the wood that we're using today, decks, is a pine, as opposed to a hardwood. This is a softwood. You're going to have to get in there and get all that stuff out of there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to reintroduce the natural tannins of the wood. And this is where the magic comes into play. You can literally see this happen. As I start applying this, you're going to see this wood literally change in front of your eyes. See that? You can see this piece right here with the sodium percarbonate is really starting to come lighter with the bleach board, the house wash mix. And let's get into the sodium metasilicate. See, it's starting to come back to its natural color real quick. And again, this is really, really getting that wood back to its natural tone, getting the tannins relaxed. And again, the tannins are what make up give the wood its natural tone and its natural color. Again, you can see it right in front of your very eyes. We're just going to put it on right here from the bottom up to the middle, so that way you can kind of see the difference on these last couple boards. One of the great things about using oxalic acid is all these nail holes on decks and fences and stuff like that. It's going to get rid of all the rust stains. It's going to pull it out of there. Right? So when we're talking about an optimum surface, do we want to go back in without putting a brightener on that? You see how it looks all the way across there? Brand new wood, night and day. Check on high. We've only done half of this board, right? This is with the tannin still affected by the alkaloids, or the alkali. Watch what happens. Say goodbye. It's like magic. And again, if we're following the side of the can, ladies and gentlemen, you're always going to see manufacturer specification refer to optimum conditions. Whether that's weather. We've already talked about where all the work comes out. The finished product is predicated on all the prep, right? If you're not doing the right prep, why are you doing it? If you just want to sling bleach, you're leaving a lot of money for us on the table, right? The days of the dinosaur just coming out throwing sodium hydroxide on it, hitting it with a pressure washer, throwing bleach on it, they're long gone. You're ineffective with today's coatings and coverings. Like I said, 2020 and moving on, a lot of the manufacturers are really going towards something more water-based and more friendly, not only for the homeowner, but for us, the contractor, because we got to maintain this. Decks are a really big investment, right? No matter whether it's Trex or whether it's wood, we got to maintain it the proper way to get the most bang for our buck. So the Forest Industry Products Laboratory says anytime you introduce any type of chemical, cleaner, solvent, or anything like that to the wood, the standard is wet the wood, do what you're going to do to it, brighten it, right? And as far as brighteners, we don't rinse the brightener off. We let it be. There's nothing in there. It's neutral, right? The surface is now neutral. We can let that dry, okay? So we're not going to rinse it off. You can rinse it off if you like to, but let the wood do what it's going to do. We've seen with the house wash mix, it's kind of a lot brighter and taking the tannins out. Now, you can get away with this, and a homeowner, somebody less learned than us, is going to say, well, that doesn't look bad. And we can get away with that. But really, what's that say? Does that meet up with the optimum conditions that we've set? Is this a standard that we're going to meet? Did it meet the standard? Well, if we got to answer that question, it's really no. So we move on to the sodium percarbonate, right? The oxygenated bleach, and then the sodium metasilicate, and then our stripper. And as you can see, as we start getting over here with the sodium metasilicate, you see that natural heart of the wood coming back into there, that nice rich tone. That's really what the homeowner wants to see. And our coverings and our finishes, that really depends on, that's where you bring the customer into it. Most of the mechanism, how to clean this is all you, the contractor. We want to really highlight the natural tone of this, so it's up to you to decide what's going to be the easiest for you to maintain. Not always is it going to be the customer's choice. Let them stick to color, but you and I both know we're going to have to maintain this. So you're going to find something like a water-based Deck Restoration Plus. It's a water-based. You put it on, depending on the surface, you do your maintenance, you come out for a light cleaning. This is where we're going to use a house wash mix. Of course, we're going to use a little bit of SH with some detergent on there, right? We're going to clean that, then we're going to neutralize it again and reapply our stain. That's what a maintenance coat is, and it will last like that for 25 to 30 years. Left untreated, our wood is going to check, crack, turn black, and just do all kinds of nasty stuff. You guys have seen it when you showed up on jobs before. But I think right now this is a pretty good representation. We'd have to let the wood dry and get it to around 13%, I think it is, 15% below for hardwoods, and 10%, I believe, for pines and other softwoods and stuff like that, before we start putting some type of sealer or stain on that. But here's the big difference. This is what sets us aside. Deck Restoration Plus, stains and sealers, you're going to be able to put these on wet wood, and it's going to look no different than as if you put it on dry wood. And we're going to show you that here in this demonstration, okay? We're going to let this dry off first. We're going to come back, wet the wood down. We're going to apply our stain. You're going to see it's no different whether we apply it wet or dry. Now, the positive side of applying to wet wood, you guys can come in here, you could clean this wood in the morning time, get their fence, their deck, get it all clean, you get it brightened. Before lunchtime even hits, you're taking a break, you're getting lunch, you can come back, the wood is still wet after you've neutralized it. You can put this stain on with your first coat, and we apply our stains on wet, meaning We're not going to let this board dry out, right? We can use it on wet wood. Unlike other stuff, you start letting it dry, it's going to show a variation in color, one board from the next. So we're going to put this on wet wood. We're going to put it on wet. We're going to treat this, and I'm going to show you more about that wet on wet technique when we come back. We've already done our deck restoration demo. We're going to wet the wood down and show you what it's like to put it on wet on wet. Now you see when we put this water back on there, automatically it shows the natural beauty of the wood after we've done restore it. The optimum result is there for us to stain it. So now we're going to use our Deck Restoration Plus stain. This is one of our newer colors, the Beach Haven Black. It's a very, very similar tint to the Ready Seal. We're going to go ahead and apply that wet on wet. And unlike putting this stuff on from top to bottom when you're doing vertical surfaces like a painter would do, we're going to put this on from the bottom up. And the reason for that being is if you start at the top, right, every little drip mark, this is a two-coat process, right? Every little drip mark that goes on there, by the time you get down, that's your first coat. By the time you get around to put your second coat on, that's your third coat, right? Those drip marks will be your third coat, and the surface is going to look like it has freckles. So that's why we do it from the bottom to the top in a wet on wet method, right? When all stuff goes on, you're going to see, and it highlights the wood very nicely. We're going to come up, and we're going to put it on nice and liberally, bring it up, apply it right next to the next coat, get it all in there, all the way up the wood. Wet on wet method, blend it all in and come up. Now, if you're going to be spraying this, we're going to go all in one direction. A lot of folks have a tendency, especially on fences, to want to spray this top and bottom. Drip marks, wrong answer. We're going to spray it with the same technique. We are professionals. It's going to show up in the end result. So we're going to put this on up, stop, up, not the up and down. Again, it's a professional finish. We're professionals. Let's remember this, okay? So the two-coat process, wet on wet. This wood is still wet. We're going to start at the bottom, get it up there, get it into the wood. Like I said, these are a water-based stain that really perform just so great, like an oil base. And there you go. That's a wet on wet method, two coats with your stain. And finish it off with the final process of the standard wood restoration. That's with our Deck Restoration Plus water-based stain and sealer. We appreciate your time. If you have any more questions, please give us a call at Deck Restoration Plus. Give the folks at Dirt Killer a call. We'll be more than happy to answer them.
All right, guys, so we're going to pick up right where we left off. If you noticed, we have stained two of our boards. Ray, why don't you go ahead and tell us the difference between the two of them?
Okay, so like I said, when we did this, originally did our demo, Deck Restoration Plus is a water-based stain that behaves like an oil, quite frankly. It can be put on wet wood. So the board to the left there is our stain, put on the wood right after we finished our restoration demo, and then we waited for the wood to dry out, and the board on the right is the very same stain put on dry wood, and it's done like that so that way we can show you the contrast and difference. When you put this Deck Restoration Plus stain on a wood surface, wet or dry, there's not much difference, if any at all. So again, just another valuable tool. Why would we use that? It's ready, it's available, it doesn't take 2 or 3 days. We're not waiting for stuff to dry out. Literally, you're coming in, you're doing a deck restoration, you're doing a cleaning, and then maybe another reapply after your maintenance, or whether it's brand new install, you're coming in, you're cleaning it, you're rinsing it, you're brightening, you're following the standard of wood restoration, and then you're going to put this on. You don't have to wait for the wood to dry out to less than 10%. You can literally put it on wet wood. Would you put it on puddle wood? I would think that would create a problem, but let's keep it safe and say wet wood, that's on the left-hand side. Look at the right-hand side, no difference whatsoever. That means it relates to more hours for you to get to the next customer and do the same quality, fine, optimal job with the product available here with you fine folks at Dirt Killer. Why would you not come here? Easy.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ray. So just to sum up, on the left-hand side, we have wet down the wood, maybe let it sit, what do you think, 5 minutes before we start applying stain? And then the wood on the right, I don't even think that sat for about 2 hours. You can see the difference. The wood's not completely dry, completely cured. Both application processes did a really nice job, very even, very thorough. Laid through the entire thing, laid a very nice dark color. I was talking to Ray, and I want to ask him, what's the advantage to doing this? What's it going to look like 3 years from now? What's it going to look like when you as a contractor are going to follow up with this job and reapply some stain after a couple seasons? What are we looking at?
Okay, the easy answer is we don't know.
Okay.
right? Because of mitigating factors, the horizontal, full sun, stuff like this. So that's what's keeping in touch with, keeping up to date with the coverings. And of course, you know, you've got to follow manufacturer specifications. You're looking at restanding this probably in a really harsh environment in 1 to 2 years maybe. More sun, more shade, all mitigating factors. Follow manufacturer specifications. With this, we're coming back in at about 18 months, doing a maintenance cleaning on this and a reapplication, still keeping its natural luster, no difference in tone, color, and or shade. And again, the ease of use, it's in 1 day out.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate you coming down for us today.
Thank you so much.
This was Ray Pullen with Deck Restoration Plus. We look forward to doing some future videos with you guys, as well as carrying your full product line. So guys, this is us with Dirt Killer Pressure Washers. We're now carrying Deck Restoration Plus's product line. If you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out dirtkiller.com. This is Old Man Wags, Ray Pullen. Let's kill some dirt.
Dirt Killer. Let's kill some dirt.